All the time on Black social media, we will always hear conversations surrounding Black men in weak leadership, especially when it comes towards providing for Black women, taking care of Black women, or all of the above. Just recently, the Daily Wrap-Up crew had Dr. Umar Johnson, and you guys can remember what Dr. Umar said. Black men are responsible for Black women's bad decisions. And if you need a rewind, Nemo, let's play that clip.
Over here, I want to say this to us, though. Because we try to act like the way sisters treat us doesn't have a history that we are not at least partly responsible for. Let's be honest. The Black woman has had to hold down the Black house by herself, although imperfectly. She's had to do it by herself since the mass incarceration of Black males began in the 1970s. You understand me? Most of our children are raised by a single mother right now. And it has been that way for about 50 years. So when a sister says, I don't need a man, because she couldn't find one strong enough to hold her down. Or when you meet a woman and you say, sister, I'm strong enough to be your man. You ain't got to work or you ain't got to pay the bills or whatever. Pull back. I got you. And she can't do it because all the other men before you who disappointed her. So what I'm saying is, Black men, we got to be patient with our women because we created that personality. We created that. And then we want to act like we didn't play a role.
We have to be held accountable for their poor selection.
No, you have to be held accountable. No, you have to be held accountable because they have a poor selection. See, what you're saying, you're selecting a poor mate. And what I'm saying is they don't have much to select one, so of course she's going to end up with a poor mate. And why is she going to end up with a poor mate? Because we as Black men are not raising Black boys to be the men that our women need.
So of course, that is something that, got a lot of the blogs talking, but, that's not the whole 9 yards. Now, remember, I think somebody like Dr. Umar Johnson would be the antithesis of the Passport Bros. Somebody like Dr. Umar Johnson will believe that, listen, these Black women in America are giving you bad attitudes because, you're not providing or taking care of them or providing opportunities for them. So it's weak for you to leave. And then Black men in response have said, listen, we're tired of whatever situation is going on here. We're going to explore opportunities and let it be that. Now, with that being the case, I came across this particular TikTok video of this lady who's pretty much saying that God is going to destroy Passport Bros for going out and getting better options. I know that you don't believe that this is what she did, but let's play that clip.
This is a message that God wants me to deliver to the Passport Bros. All of you men will go down just like Adam did, following behind Eve versus God. Okay? All of you. He said he has you guys lined up, passports in hand, thoughts of doing it in head, okay? Because you guys are not strong enough to do God's will, okay? And to guide others to do God's will, okay? The only thing you're thinking about is what the woman wants, what the woman says versus what God needs you to do, okay? So instead of you looking at the Black woman in America as if she's lesser than, just know that God has us ready for leadership. The same leadership that you were supposed to do. But you chose to catch the Eve syndrome and listen to Eve versus God. Okay? Those are the weak ones. The very weak ones. All right? And you are not attractive to the strong Black female because God is doing something magnificent to keep us in charge with him, okay, versus man, all right? Because you wasn't able to be that leader, all right? You wasn't strong enough to be that king. You stayed out here whoring and slutting around, going to different countries looking for your Eve versus seeking the Lord. So therefore, God has took away your crown. All right?
So this is a lady that's on TikTok. I believe she is a female pastor or self-identified or self-ordained pastor. And she's saying some things that's very interesting. You black men are not strong enough to do God's will. And, you know, instead of you doing what God wants you to do for black women, and because of your failure, God has prepared black women for leadership. You're doing things like whoring and slutting around in the world. And because of that, you're going to, it seems like, ultimately perish because you were not seeking the Lord. And I find it to be very interesting. I'm not saying that you don't have men who are, exploring their options and thotting it up or whoring around or whatever, right? But, if you just look at the statistics, 81% of all black children born in America are born out of wedlock. It used to be 72%. I've heard the number is as much as 81% now. That means that these same black women who God is preparing for leadership must not care that these women are sleeping with men without being married. Is that what you're telling me? So God is gonna, damn these men. That's your vision that God showed you. But the women who are living a lifestyle outside of God, who are producing these children, which the Bible calls that a process of bastardization, and it is fornication technically, or sometimes if it's you're having sex with a married man, it's adultery. I guess that God is going to overlook what's going on with those ladies. Is that right? So I guess the black man loses his crown, but ain't nothing gonna happen to her. That's the kind of God that she serves. That God is not, just. That God only just don't like passport bros. And let me just also mention this situation. Whenever she talks about you can't handle the strength of a woman, and let me just say this, I do believe it is men's responsibility to provide for their communities. I'm very big on that, taking care of women. But the situation is this, and we need to be honest about it. Not every woman is going to be worth being taken care of, just like not every man is worth being submissive to. Those things are privileges of relationships, okay? Now, in theory, every man should be masculine because he's a man. That's in theory. And every woman should be submissive because that's her character. But you cannot exude that to everybody. And it comes back down to, again, to the process of competition for these mates. And that's something that, again, we deal with that so often. And it's so easy to castigate guys, and it's so easy also to even castigate women. But one of the things that we're not dealing with is the fact that if you're not a woman, and if you are too, let's say, masculine, and if you are turning men off, and men don't want to put up with that, that wouldn't be their fault. Just like if a man is too feminine, he's too much of a pushover, he's out of his element, it turns a woman off, right? A woman doesn't look like a soft man who acts like a woman, who's an emotional thinker like a woman. As much as women disagree with how men feel or how men think in their way of doing things, women are attracted to the way that men do things. Just like as much as men are very frustrated with the way how women think, we are attracted to their femininity in the way they do things because opposites attract. But women are turned off by very female-minded thinking men. They don't like it. Women don't want to be with a man and they got to figure out everything for herself. She has to get in that masculine element. She would not prefer that. The same thing if a woman is too masculine, it turns a man off. He doesn't really care that you have that personal issue because that's how you grew up. He just doesn't want to deal with that. Just like you don't want to deal with a mama's boy or a man who's not doing very well. Should that be your problem? I don't think so, right? You want a man that's going to be masculine regardless, period. Women want men that can produce without any discussions. Produce or shut up. But when it comes to women, oh, give me a chance. Oh, you need to deal with this. But you won't deal with a man if he's broke, or you won't deal with a man if he has those issues. But now all of a sudden, if you're having the masculine issues, there needs to be a reason as to why a man needs to deal with that from you. And when guys don't want to deal with it, all of a sudden guys want to get rid of those guys. While those men were produced out of wedlock, which is the sin in the first place. This is exactly why a lot of brothers don't take people like her that serious. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Appreciate you for all of you, share the bell. We're out.